Hello everyone, I'm Xinyao Huang. Today we are going to talk about forest biomass estimation using GEDI. There are 5 members in our group: me, Ge Li, Wenxuan Chen, Yidi Wei, and Yu Junguo. We divide this presentation into 5 parts: Introduction, GEDI Application 1, GEDI Application 2, the comparison of GEDI and glass, and the final part, summary. I will take the first part, Introduction. At the beginning, I want to give you some background information. As we all know, forests are important components of terrestrial ecosystems, which can remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere in the process of photosynthesis and store it in their biomass. Therefore, forest biomass is considered as an indispensable part of the global carbon cycle. As a result, accurate forest biomass estimation is required for many purposes, including greenhouse gas inventories, terrestrial carbon accounting, and climate change modeling. Generally, there are 2 methods to measure forest biomass. One of them is traditional methods like field measurements, which is accurate but costly, time-consuming, and limited to small areas. Another one is remote sensing method, which is feasible for estimating biomass at regional and global scales. Usually radar like SAR and LiDAR data are widely used. About the radar measurements, these 4 radar satellites could all be utilized to measure the forest biomass. The theory of radar measurements is that radar sensors measure the backscattered energy after the microwaves bounce off surfaces below. So radar with long wavelengths allows for good penetration capabilities and is sensitive to moisture content in vegetation, which can aid in determining biomass and forest structure. Besides, SAR backscatter, especially at low frequencies, are sensitive to trunk and ground biomass and moisture content. Past studies have found that the radar backscatter value varies with increasing forest biomass for lower levels of above-ground biomass. However, signal saturation problems occur when biomass reaches a certain level, which would result in a logarithmic relationship between biomass and the backscatter. At this time, the sensitivity of radar backscattering coefficients to forest biomass will be combined with uncertainties caused by the diversity of the forest spatial structure. But LiDAR can overcome this problem and improve the accuracy of estimating biomass because of its direct detection of the vertical forest structure. It estimates tree or canopy height from the detection of ground and ground responses in a LiDAR waveform. There are mainly 2 types of LiDAR data: geoscience LiDAR altimeter system GLASS and GEDI data. Today we are going to focus on the GEDI data. So what is the GEDI? The full name of it is Global Ecosystem Dynamics Investigation. NASA launched this mission to the International Space Station in December 2018, so it's a very new data. And it uses a multi-beam LiDAR instrument to make measurements of vertical forest structure, such as height and foliage profiles, for deriving above-ground biomass. In addition, it makes precise measurements of forest canopy height, canopy vertical structure, and surface elevation, thereby improving the accuracy effectively. Actually, sometimes, apart from the use of a single sensor, combining information from multiple sensors has yielded promising results for this estimation. That's what we are going to talk about in the next part. Well, let's move on to part 2, GEDI Application 1. Thank you.
I'm going to talk about the application of GEDI in biomass assessment. Recently, There is an increasing worldwide need for information about the state and the change of forest resources and forest environmental conditions. A major challenge is to collect forest information cost efficiently without sacrificing information quality. Over the last few decades, several studies have been conducted where remote sensing and field data have been combined in order to enhance the precision of large-scale field-based inventories or to make forest survey feasible in remote areas. However, field data are expensive or may not be possible to obtain from all parts of the area. The vast availability of remote sensing data also opens new possibilities for improving estimation efficiency by using combination of several sources of remote sensing data. For example, wall-to-wall data are provided by Landsat satellite, and sample remote sensing data were obtained from an airborne LiDAR that produced simulated GEDI waveforms. In this figure, these are 6 populations mimicking forest conditions in study areas across the USA. For each site, reference data were available from field measurement, Landsat satellite, and laser scanning using a method that mimics future measurements with the GEDI space LiDAR. These reference data were used for simulating above-ground biomass and remote sensing data for each study set, including simulated GEDI data, Landsat data, field data, and simulated population. In general, the target for the GEDI mission is to report above-ground biomass estimates by 1 km squares. Thus, the area is tessellated into 1 km grid cells, each of which will have a certain number of GEDI footprints and potentially a wall-to-wall cover of Landsat data. The study examples are of two kinds. In case A, only GEDI and Landsat data from within a given 1 km grid cells are used. In case B, data from 8 neighboring grid cells were used in addition to center grid. The method is the generalized hierarchical model-based estimation. 3 datasets are required for GHMB estimations. The first dataset is a sample of field data. The second dataset contains the enlarged sample of remote sensing data and the corresponding remote sensing data from the wall-to-wall dataset. The third dataset contains the wall-to-wall remote sensing data from the entire target population. Then compare the performance of GHMB estimation with two-stage model-based estimation, which is based on GEDI, Landsat, and field data, and hybrid estimation, which utilized only sampled GEDI data and field data, and conventional model-based estimation, which utilized only wall-to-wall and Landsat data and field data. On average, the GHMB and the JTSMB method performed about equally well, and they were superior to the other method in case data from neighboring grid cells were used for improving the models. When data from the target grid cell only were used for the model building, the GHMB and JTSMB method were outperformed by the hybrid and the conventional MB estimation methods. And the GHMB and GTSMB method typically decrease their relative standard errors by about 40% when data from surrounding grid cells were applied in the model building. Design-based inventory methods based on field sampling are limited by the availability of plot data. GHMB and GTSMB allows estimation of biomass in areas where there may be none or very limited field data.
Now let's talk about another use of GEDI application. In this part, this is the structure of this part: introduction, datasets, methods, results, and discussion. Let's begin with the introduction. GEDI has its unique advantages. It can make precise measurements of forest canopy height and vertical forest structure by parameterizing key variables in the random volume over ground model. And GEDI is useful because the use of LiDAR for global mapping has been severely hampered by a lack of spaceborne data. Meanwhile, the marriage of the accuracy of LiDAR data from missions such as GEDI with the coverage of INSAR should significantly address this shortcoming. In this research, fusing simulated GEDI LiDAR observations with acquisitions from TDX INSAR mission. The advantages of the fused products are they can improve forest biomass estimation, produce biomass maps at a much finer resolution, and fill gaps caused by tracking space clumping in the ISS orbital tracks as well as from clouds. Let's see some example. The research focused on 3 different tree types, and they chose a typical biomass for each tree type. The TDX data are used to fuse with GEDI data, and the airborne laser scanning data are also used to contrast with the GEDI and TDX fusion biomass. How can we fuse GEDI data with TDX data? How to evaluate the accuracy and uncertainty of GEDI TDX fusion biomass? The flowchart shows the process. The 4 boxes on the left are the original datasets, and the 4 boxes on the right are the final products. GEDI helps measure the forest canopy height by parameterizing key variables in the random volume over ground model. Forest inventory data and co-located ALS-derived RH metrics are used to develop biomass LiDAR calibration models, and subsequently applied these to estimate ALS reference biomass and GEDI biomass. Let's move on to the result. At 1 kilometer resolution, they compared the R-square values and root mean squared error of GEDI biomass vs ALS reference biomass and GEDI TDX fusion biomass vs ALS reference biomass. According to the table, GEDI TDX fusion has higher R-squared values and smaller RMSE values, so in general, the GEDI TDX fusion is more accurate than the GEDI biomass. This is the visualization of ALS reference biomass and GEDI TDX fusion biomass at 100 meter over these 3 tree types. Then what about the uncertainty? Among the 3 sites, averaged uncertainties of ALS reference biomass and GEDI biomass were found to be the largest over TEF, moderate over LSBS, and the smallest over HBEF. This may be related to the different degrees of structural heterogeneity. In general, the ALS reference biomass has the highest accuracy, followed by GEDI and TDX fusion biomass. The only GEDI biomass has the lowest accuracy. As to uncertainty, the ALS has the lowest uncertainty while the GEDI has the highest uncertainty. The potential reason of this phenomenon may be the incomplete coverage of GEDI data. GEDI data are only available along track with large gaps across track, which would result in the sampling errors. Consequently, the relatively higher uncertainty of GEDI data. This application has an underlying question, which is how accurate is the TDX data, would significantly affect the quality of GEDI and TDX fusion. If the TDX data itself has higher accuracy, the GEDI and TDX fusion would have much higher accuracy. The statistical approach presented here may be applied to any water raw ancillary data. Ideally, such data should be strongly responsive to biomass, but even weak relationships may still provide improvement.
Let's move to the part 4. In this part, I will introduce another laser instrument and compare it with GEDI. As introduced in the first part, laser remote sensing is one of the most common methods to obtain above-ground biomass and its dynamic information. Biomass maps are derived from LiDAR are generally limited to local origin scales, reflecting the dependence on album LiDAR dataset. There have been several pan-tropical and global maps based on spaceborne LiDAR, in particular from the Geoscience Laser Altimeter system on both the ice cloud and land elevation satellites. GLASS is the first laser reading instrument for continuous global observation of Earth. It was designed to acquire large footprint laser waveforms with global coverage. Stopped working in 2009. It has ability to obtain forest vertical structure parameters. Here is the basic parameters of GLASS. The footprint size of GLASS is about 70 meters in diameter, and it varied through the laser campaign periods. GLASS data are samples that are spatially sparse and thus are usually combined with remote sensing data that are continuous, such as radar and multispectral data for forest structure and biomass estimation. Some researchers reported that GLASS height estimates were accurate for area with slopes below 10 degrees, whereas waveforms from area with slopes above 15 degrees were inaccurate. They found that the correlation coefficients of about 0.85 for slopes below 10 degrees and about 0.31 for slopes above 15 degrees. The terrain effect is a major challenge for accurately mapping forest above ground biomass. Many studies have been carried out to reduce the impact of terrain on the retrieval of forest structure using large footprint LiDAR waveform. The acquisition of a consistent and comprehensive set of LiDAR measurements on forest structure is a pressing need for improving the current estimation of forest biomass and terrestrial carbon. To meet this challenge, NASA launched the GEDI mission. GLASS can obtain observations cover most of the Earth's surface. In theory, it can achieve global coverage. while GEDI measurements are made over the Earth's surface between the longitudes of 51.5 degrees north and south. In addition, because of the big footprint, glass has limitations in large-scale application. Glass data limited the accuracy of these maps to coarse scales, often in excess of 10 plus 10 multiplied 10 km, before standard errors of the estimates drop to acceptable levels. By contrast, GEDI has a smaller footprint than glass. The average along-track distance between the footprints is 60 meters, and footprint size averages 25 meters, resulting in almost continuous along-track carriage. The footprint is large enough to measure how tree while being small enough to accurately detect the ground on steep terrain. It can also produce 1 kilometer grounded estimates along with their associated uncertainties.
Hi everyone, I'm Yujun, and I'll talk about some summary of our work. In our work, we introduce GEDI and also explore the application of it in estimating forest biomass at larger scales. And in our previous work, we found that the fusion of GEDI data with other remote sensing data is important to compensate the limitation of each other and then produce higher spatial resolution products. We also do some comparison between radar and GEDI, and we found that the main advantage of GEDI compared to radar is that it can overcome the saturation problem and improve the accuracy of AGB estimation because of its direct detection of the vertical forest structure. And we also explored two examples of the fusion works. In the first example, the generalized hierarchical model-based estimation and the generalized two-stage model-based estimation have been realized by combining the GEDI data and the Landsat data. The fusion work realizes the estimation of the biomass in the places where the number of the simulated GEDI data is limited. The results from the case studies indicates that these two methods could lead to more precise results. However, the accuracy of results would be affected by the dimension of the target place, which means this method is more suitable for the measurement of a large scale. And in the second example, random volume over ground model is established, while the GEDI data are utilized to parameterize the key variables in the model. The combination of GEDI and the insert data helps to realize the global coverage. It makes use of the high resolution of LiDAR data and also the wide range coverage of insert data to fill the gaps between the tracks, and also to improve the resolution and accuracy of the final results. However, the results provided by this fusion work are not as accurate as the one provided by ALS, and the accuracy is related to the choice of insert data inputted, and there might be different results in different situations. GEDI is unparalleled in the first high-resolution laser ranging observation of the 3D structure of the Earth, and these largely help to monitor the 3D items on the Earth. But GEDI LiDAR mission acquire data only along transects or tracks. Some gaps caused by track spacing, clumping in the ISS orbit tracks, as well as from clouds still exist. What's more, GEDI mission is launched in 2018, so it is really a new mission, Therefore, the data collected by it is not very integrated, and the time frame of it is relatively shorter, which limited the application of it. So in the future, there are more work should be done. Firstly, the instrument of GEDI could be more sensitive and more reliable, helping to collect more data usable and reduce the error during the measurement. The spatial and temporal resolution should also be improved in the future in order to monitor items in a smaller size. Furthermore, more appropriate fusion strategies between GEDI observations and other spatially contiguous datasets should be explored for better estimation of forest biomass.